Hi class, this is another video on simplifying expressions with exponents. Only this one is going to involve some negative exponents since the last video did not. So let's look at a cubed b squared c to the 0 over a to the negative 1 b to the negative 2 c to the negative 3, all raised to the negative 2. So the first thing I'm going to consider when doing this problem is the inside of the parentheses. So I see that the denominator and the numerator both have a's and b's, but all of the a, b's, and c's in the denominator are negative. So I'm going to use the rule that says I can move those up to the numerator and change the exponents to being positive. So when I do that, I'm going to first just write down what I already have in the numerator. So a cubed b squared c to the 0. Now I sometimes find it helpful to cross out the things that I've already considered and dealt with. That way I know that I don't need to go back and look at them, and it just helps me be organized. So now I come back and I look at the denominator, and I see that a to the negative 1 has a negative exponent, so I'm going to bring that up to the numerator, giving it a positive exponent. So that's going to become just a, because a to the positive 1 can just be written as a. And I'm going to go ahead and cross that one out. Same thing with the b to the negative 2, now becomes b squared, and c to the negative 3 becomes c cubed. And I still have the exponent of negative 2 on the outside. So now I have one long expression inside of my parentheses that involves many a, b's, and c's. So to combine each of the a's with all the a's, for example, I add exponents. Again, remember, if there is no exponent, it implies that there's an exponent of 1. So I have a cubed and a to the 1. So adding exponents, I get a to the 4. Same with the b's. I have b squared, and then I have another b squared. And since 2 plus 2 is 4, I get b to the 4. Sorry, my 4 looks a little weird. There we go. And then with the c's, I have c to the 0 and c to the 3, and 0 plus 3 is 3. So I result in c cubed. Now I still have the exponent of negative 2 on the outside. Now with a negative exponent, I can do two things here. I can either distribute it to each of my a, b's, and c's, or I can go ahead and flip what's inside and make it a positive exponent. And we talked about this in class. So this is the step I'm going to do instead of distributing it. So flipping the inside, remember, even though there is not a denominator, it's as if it was over 1. So now I can flip it by putting it 1 over a to the 4, b to the 4, c to the 3, all raised to the power of now positive 2, because I have the reciprocal instead. Now I can go ahead and distribute this 2 to everything in the numerator and everything in the denominator. And I'll write this out in a couple steps. So in the numerator, I'll have 1 squared over the entire denominator, a to the 4, b to the 4, c cubed. Having issues with my 3's, I apologize. There we go. And all of this is raised to the power of 2. And now lastly, I'm going to distribute that 2 to my a to the 4, b to the 4, and c cubed. And since 1 squared is the same thing as 1, I'll just write that as 1. And now I have a to the 8, because 4 times 2 is 8. Similarly, I have b to the 8, and then c to the 6, because 3 times 2 is 6. And now my final answer has all positive exponents, so I am done.